Kia ora tātou. Ko Serra de Japi, te maunga e rune taku nākou. Ko Hiujunjai, te awa e mahia nei aku maharahara. No parihia ho, ko Marina Klemm toku ingoa. E mihi ana ki ngā tohu o nehi o Ngāti Whātua o Rake e noho nei o. Kia ora everyone, my name is Marina. If you're wondering where my accent is from, I was born in the small city of Jundiaí in the state of São Paulo in the southeast of Brazil. And I'm very happy to be the associate curator for Te Mana Rangitāhua at Auckland Museum. So first, where is Rangitāhua, and has everyone ever heard of Rangitāhua? So I'll locate you with Google Maps. So you're looking at Rao Island. It's the biggest of all the islands that compound Rangitāhua. And then there's the Meyer Islands, and then as you scroll out, I guess, you can see Macaulay Island. And then further down, we have Curtis Island, and we have Cheeseman Island. And you might have heard of these islands as Kermadec Islands, but for us and for Ngāti Kuri, they're iwi. This is kind of like a dead name, so it will look really cool if anytime anyone ever mentions Kermadec Islands to you, you actually say, it's Rangitāhua. So if you can take anything away from this talk, take that. And as you can see, it takes quite a while to scroll out of it and be able to see mainland Aotearoa, right? So it's halfway between Tonga and mainland Aotearoa. I've been there last year. It takes about 4 days on a ship to get there. It's really, really fun. It's really, really beautiful. But I don't know if you noticed, as I was saying, all the names of the islands, we have names in English, we have names in French. The original name for the islands is based on a French colonizer, so the whole history of the Motu is a colonizer history. So whereas all these people have been going there, pillaging it, bringing goats and cats and rats and cows and sheep, Ngāti Kuri, which is their iwi, have been completely cut out of the island. So with that in mind, Ngāti Kuri and Auckland Museum have joined forces through this project called Te Mana Rangitāhua. So it's in the final legs now. We are on the last 6 months of the project, but it's a massive 5-year MB funded project. And what you see on the left was the current state of when the project started. So there was this full separation between iwi and their whakapapa. So iwi didn't know which species were there. They didn't know how Rangitāhua was facing climate change challenges. They didn't know the purako, the stories of the island, because they've been separated for so long. And we are walking towards the green part of it, where iwi has leadership over the island. Iwi decides what happens on the Motu, and iwi takes care of the taonga. So this particular talk, it's about this work that I've done doing a huge stock take on all the specimens from the Motu. So you can see on the left, that was me to about 150 people around the world. So it was me saying, hey, you never heard of me. You might have heard of New Zealand. I don't know that you have heard of Rangitāhua. It would be really cool if you took some time off your busy schedule to give me an extract of all the data you have from Rangitāhua. And as you can imagine, I got almost no responses at first. It was really, really hard actually to hear back from any person that I contacted. And a lot of times that meant I had to CC someone that I met once and then try to get some leverage on the emails, try to get some responses. The maximum amount of people, the maximum amount of attempts that I did at contacting people was 5 times over 8 months. And to do that, I had to remember who I contacted when. So I had this complicated spreadsheet from my end that was pretty much, okay, I contacted this person on this day, and then on that day I received an automatic response. They were on leave, and they're coming back in on this day. So on this day, I need to remember to contact them again. Or actually, they don't work there anymore. So this is the other person I need to contact. And rinse and repeat for many months. So this took about 8 months. I had 143 people on the list to contact. I got data from 88 of them. So I think it's okay. I think it's more than I initially expected. And of course, because there was so much data, I was getting a bit crazy with all the spreadsheets. So from early on, we had developed this SQL code on Microsoft Access, which is not that bad, actually. I actually prefer Microsoft Access over Excel, but it's pretty much you're just compiling all the data from all these spreadsheets to keep a single file that I only have to open. That one file, I don't need to have 25 spreadsheets open at all times, so it was really cool. So this is one part of the project, or one part of the things that I'm presenting to you today. The other part was developed by Charlotte Milne. She was a research assistant within Tupuna Rangitāhua, and she did this before I started in my role, but she did this amazing stock take of all the expeditions that went to Rangitāhua, or all the ones that she could track anyways. Most of it was not published in academic papers, but she found it in great literature like government reports and so on. And she found there were a few categories of voyages. So there were mana whenua voyages, early exploration, biodiversity, archaeology expeditions, some recreative voyages there as well, and routine inspections, because for many years the Department of Conservation was the company, or the government agency taking care of Rangitāhua. And I could stop there, but I love R, and I thought I actually have this 2 separate data sets. They're very detailed, very complete, and I thought, why not try to cross them for something a little bit more meaningful, perhaps. So what I did was I created this R script that kind of joined both spreadsheets. So I took the museums where all the specimens were located and the year they were taken to the museum, and Charlotte's spreadsheet of all the institutions that funded expeditions to Rangitāhua and the years they went to Rangitāhua, and then I ran this script that combines them. And I was used to doing that back at uni in high processing computers, so it crashed, my computer, so my little HP laptop, poor thing. So I had to do it in many, many batches. But it was done in a morning, it was done. So that was cool. So from my side of things, all the specimens data that I got, I found 40,000, almost 41,000 records across the world. I think it was 88 institutions that I collected data from. And out of those, we have the physical records. So this is the thing, I guess, you picture when you think of a museum collection. You think of specimens in a jar, and birds, and that sort of thing. There's some DNA samples as well. And there was also almost 6,000 digital records. So that is from when people went there and they used iNaturalist or eBird or similar types of software. And that one was the one that added a lot of counts to the data, actually, because there were some instances where people found 2,000 fish on this school or 5,000 birds on this flock. So that's how we got 1.7 individual records from Rangitāhua. A disclaimer here, so Rangitāhua is very close to the international change of date line. So R does not understand it's part of Aotearoa. I tried everything I could. It still looks like Rangitāhua is one side, and then all the specimens that went to mainland Aotearoa went all the way around the world. But that's fine, we can live with that. This is a distribution of all the digital records from Rangitāhua. So the wider and more pink the circle is, there's more specimens. So you can see it's mainly concentrated in the northern hemisphere. And the physical records are quite even. There's a huge circle there where Hawaii is, because that's where Bishop Museum has heaps and heaps and heaps of bugs, and they don't occupy a lot of space, so you can have so many of them. I also found, I can't read from the slides there, but the distribution of institutions. So Te Papa, within all the institutions around the world, Te Papa has the most specimens, and then Auckland Museum, Niua, Manaki Whenua, and then Iber, Jibif, Bishop Museum, Canterbury, Smithsonian Institute, and University of Auckland. So you can see most of them are in Aotearoa. And something else that I looked at was the disciplines around the centuries, so which type of specimens were taken from Rangitāhua throughout the ages. So at first it was pretty much marine specimens in the 18th century, and then you can see in the 19th century there's a big bias towards botany, and that's when Cheeseman used to go to the Motu, and Cheeseman was a famous curator from Auckland Museum, so that shows our role in that as well, in our institution, and pillaging this place as well. And then it went back to a lot of marine expeditions, and of course the Te Mana Rangitāhua has a huge number of marine scientists as well, so we do kind of contribute to the bias, I guess. And the expeditions, so Charlotte tracked 127 expeditions within her timeline. 95 of them were led by or involved teams from Aotearoa. And then the international involvement included Australia, Denmark, France, Germany, US, the UK, Canada, Hawaii, Japan, Peru, and Russia. And the most common voyages were biodiversity voyages and mapping and geology voyages. But the striking contrast here is that have only been 3 Mana Whenua voyages documented until we started this project. So all these countries to the right have been to Rangitāhua way more times than their iwi that have been cut completely from Rangitāhua. And Charlotte did this beautiful design just to illustrate the history of expeditions that have been to Rangitāhua as well. And the final part was the results from this data linking. So the main column there in blue is what I call the matching key. So it has the country where the specimens were in, the country that funded the voyages, and the year that the voyage had happened, and that the specimen was acquired by the museum or catalogued by the museums. And then this long spreadsheet, I think it has 80,000 lines, has all those results linked, which meant that we can look at cool things like this. So I can tell that it was the HDMS Galatea in 1952 that took all the specimens listed beneath it to the Natural History Museum of Denmark. And it was the RV Melville in 2001 that distributed specimens to Harvard University and the Scripps Institute in the US. And it was the SS Stella that took those specimens to Auckland War Memorial Museum in 1887. Of course, there are some limitations to this. So it is really hard, I think, from Charlotte's side of the work, it's really hard to find expedition records that are complete, that say in which year they went, which was the name of the ship, what type of voyage it was. Also, from my side of things, it was really hard to find people willing to respond, and I'm sorry if I nagged someone that's in the room. But yeah, it's hard, and I know we're all busy, so it's not always possible for people to send data, but it does raise this question about who does the data belong to. And there were a few cases where some museums wanted me to pay for the data as well. And also provenance, so sometimes the records, the museums will only have New Zealand in the record. They wouldn't say where from New Zealand, they wouldn't have coordinates, so that's data that is lost forever. We will never be able to link it back to Rangitāhua. And of course, during the life of this project as well, not only at Auckland Museum, but in other institutions, we had researchers go there to look at the collections and find backlog that hasn't been cataloged for hundreds of years. So, of course, we'll never be able to reach every single institution, so there's always going to be some knowledge that's not there for us. So future directions. Ngāti Kuri is currently working on their own knowledge portal, and that will be there will be tiered access to the data. So different types of people will be able to access different types of data, and that's mainly because we have some protected species. We don't necessarily want a random person around the world to find the exact GPS coordinates to find that species, in case they do have a ship and they can take a 4-day voyage there. But then for government agencies, for researchers, so there will be tiered access to this type of data, but everything will belong to them. So we are giving them the tools to own all this knowledge as well. There's some particular taonga that is very important for them, so there are conversations about possibly repatriating them as well. And then by the end of this project, so in just a few months, we will have 4 Ngāti Kuri scientific divers, so they will be capacitated to do their own research now that we all informed them what are the species they need to look for and what they should be tracking in regards to climate change and that sort of thing. 4 Manawhenua voyages will also have happened by the end of this project. I think that's about 20 people that now have been to the Motu, and they had never, never in all the generations they have been to the Motu, so it's really cool that they get to say that they've been there. But also the other thing that we do is that we don't just decide the scientists that are going to the Motu without someone from Ngāti Kuri with us, so every single voyage has to have a kaitiaki with us as well. And of course, instead of having a dock permit that did not encompass the indigenous part of the knowledge, we now have a pukaiao, which is a cultural safety agreement that replaces the dock permit. So, and everyone that goes to the Motu has to be trained, has to have a cultural training as well. So what encompasses it all is the nothing about us without us. And of course, I could not do this alone, so I would like to acknowledge these amazing people that I worked with, some that I haven't met. For example, I haven't met Sarah Knowles, but she was the one that established this whole protocol to begin with, and I've been really lucky to work with all these amazing people. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Marina. Great talk, very interesting, and apologies that we were wandering around a little bit over there. We've just have a lost passport. So if anybody sees a black bag, please do alert the team because they need to go overseas. So our first question, and you may have answered it when I was a little distracted, so apologies. How involved was Ngāti Kuri and what was your engagement model? And then I'll ask you the next part of that question.
So Ngāti Kuri are the co-leaders, the co-directors, so every single decision goes through them at all times. They're always sitting in the meetings, they're always part of all the decisions. I don't know about the model?
Yeah, do you have like an engagement framework that guides your collaboration approach?
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely. And there's also, there were some researchers that had their own parts of the island, for example, that they wanted to go to, and they've been doing research there for a long time. But for Ngāti Kuri, those areas were tapu, you're not allowed to go, so that is also taken into account. So it's not, in our terms, it's in their terms, and we inform the decisions, but it's ultimately their call.
Fabulous, thank you. So from those answers, I think we can understand that Ngāti Kuri would receive all of the data that you collate as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I assume that's a kind of as soon as you've got it, or what does that look like?
We are keeping everything until they have the capacity to handle the data themselves. So, because it's not used for them until they have the personal I guess, to handle everything. But absolutely everything will belong to them, and we are definitely capacitating them to work with the data as well.
Beautiful, thank you. And do you know if there's a plan to change the name of the Kermadec to Rangitāhua?
Yes, so if you Google Kermadec Island, Rangitāhua appears straight away. I know that for some countries it's easier than others, like the Gulf of Mexico, but we'd hope that that happens to, in Google Maps as well. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. What about AI? Do you plan to use that at all to interrogate the data? And if so, what are the consideration points from an ethical perspective?
I believe we should have a better conversation about that within the team, but not using AI at the moment because of the sovereignty and the concerns we have with the data. Yeah.
Understand. Excellent. Thank you. So how did you reconcile historic and often colonial data gathered within a decolonizing approach?
Decolonizing approach. I guess it's through conversations. And there is a lot of hurt that we're trying to reconciliate. It's a historical hurt. It is a multi-generational hurt as well that we understand, right? So, I guess it's through conversations, and it's through. It's never us deciding at Auckland Museum deciding how things will go. It's always they decide. It's their call. Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you. And what about TK labels, traditional knowledge labels? Are Ngāti Kuri applying those to specimens, or?
Yeah, absolutely. We're building the kupu, the dictionary of all the words that would be definitely used, and for all the specimens that we have, and that would be part of the purako as well, of the stories that Ngāti Kuri would tell from now on.
Fabulous, thank you. So we do have time for probably another 1 or 2 questions, maybe. So, happy to take audience questions.
Kia ora. Has this experience influenced you in terms of how you view your own country and the indigenous people in Sao Paulo, and perhaps, supporting initiatives in Brazil to do the same thing, in particular with the collaborative indigenous models? Oh,
absolutely. Thank you for the question. So I came from the academic background. That's how I moved to Aotearoa in the first place. And before I moved here, I heard about all this indigenous knowledge, and it's so intertwined in the society, and there's so much love, and there's no racism. And then I got into the university, and then I quickly saw that the idea of integrating Māori was you just rename a few rooms, and you go to the Tui room, and you go to the Kereru room, and that's it. So this was a breath of fresh air for me. Was okay, there's actually a way to do this, and this is the world first, I believe, to now at least, a co-iwi-led project like this. And definitely I've been talking to my home uni, because we do have a lot of iwi around University of Campinas in Brazil, and definitely that is just beautiful. That is just a beautiful idea. Of course, we have our issues every now and then, but I feel like that should be the model from now on, right?
Okay, any one final question before break? And I kind of want to do the Oprah thing and ask you to all look under your chairs just for this passport that we're trying to find. There are no prizes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, And before we do that, could we also do a big